Hi everyone, hope you're doing good, and today I'm going to be doing my Ozzy Osbourne discography ranking. Now this is going to follow the Ozzy Osbourne live stream that I did back in February or January, I can't quite remember now, but yeah, when we did the whole history of Ozzy Osbourne, I listened to the rest of the albums that I hadn't listened to, hence me now making this video. So what we're going to do is all 12 of the studio albums, including the new one, Patient Number 9. I'm not going to include the live albums like Tribute or the cover album Undercover, because I don't think they count as like proper studio albums. So yeah, we're just going to do the 12 studio albums. And yeah, before we get into it, if you're new, please subscribe to my channel for more guitar and rock and metal music content if you haven't already. Please leave a like, share with anyone who you think might like my content. All feedback and comments are massively appreciated, and a massive thank you to everyone for all your support that you've given me so far. And now, without any further ado, let's just get straight into the video. So just a disclaimer before we get into it, I did this list mainly on instinct, mainly on what album I enjoy and what I feel is better than others. And also, just to mention, I don't own all the albums, so there are going to be a couple of gaps in there, so hence I've got my computer on behind the camera for track listings and information and stuff. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So coming in at last place, number 12, I've got Osmosis from 1995, and yeah, this album features Geezer Butler on the bass, and this is his sort of comeback album after his retirement. And yeah, this one for me is just last. I've never really liked it. Like, first time I listened to it, it was a real struggle to get through the album because it was really slow, really dull, really long, and I thought it was quite boring for the majority of it. There are some good moments here and there, like the main standout song is obviously Perry Mason. That song is fantastic, but the rest of it is quite boring. You know, there's songs like I Just Want You, Ghost Behind My Eyes, Tomorrow, Denial, Old LA. They're all just so long and boring and don't do anything. Although I do like Thunder Underground, See You on the Other Side, and My Jekyll Doesn't Hide. Those tracks are pretty good, but the rest of it is quite passable really. Number 11, I've got 2020 album Ordinary Man, and to be honest, I do enjoy this album. When it first got released, I bought it and I really enjoyed it. You know, there's some really great songs on this album. You know, the first couple of songs, especially Straight to Hell, All My Life, Goodbye, they're really good songs. Even Ordinary Man and Under the Graveyard, I think, are pretty cool songs. This album features a lot of guests as well. Even Scary Little Green Men, I think, is a really cool song. The last 3 songs, including that pile of crap there, are just rubbish. They really let the album down, to be honest. And another thing that lets this down is like the modern production, and Ozzy's voice just doesn't really sound like Ozzy anymore, does he? So yeah, they're really the only, the only real down points. You know, it's actually pretty decent, to be fair, and but it's just songwriting and production and all that stuff that really lets it down. Number 10, I've got from 2007, Black Rain, and this is the last one to properly feature Zakk Wylde before we come back to do some tracks on the new one. And this is a bit of like a half and half album really. So I think half of it is actually pretty decent. You know, like Not Going Away, I Don't Want to Stop, um, 11 Silver, Civilize the Universe, Countdown's Begun. I think them songs are really good. But then there's some utter crap songs on here as well, like Lay Your World on Me, The Almighty Dollar. I think that song is just awful. I hate that song. Here For You as well. You know, some of them songs that kind of almost sound like poppy, ballady, crap songs, really, to be honest. So yeah, if you take them out, it probably would be a better album. Although, yeah, for that reason about the crappy songs, it kind of does suffer the same as Ordinary Man, and a lot of his more recent albums, they do suffer with the same thing, and it's a shame, but it is what it is. So yeah, moving on to number 9, I've got Patient Number 9, the new one, which I don't have, but I'll have a picture here. And yeah, this one features loads of guests. I mean, Ordinary Man had a load of guests, but Patient Number 9 has got so many guests. Although, I mean, it was quite difficult putting this one in a ranking, because the first time I heard it, I wasn't a massive fan of it. But then I listened to it again, I just put it on in the background, and I really enjoyed it. So that kind of boosted it up for me. Although that's the weird thing with this album is that it's enjoyable, but it doesn't have any memorable songs. I don't know, it's a bit strange in that way, but I don't really have too much wrong with it, to be honest. I mean, it does suffer from the same thing again, the production, the vocals, they just sound so like unauthentic and un-Ozzy like. But you know, to be fair, there's nothing too bad about it. There's just not a lot of memorable standout songs. Although I do have the track listing up here. Parasite, that's a decent song, that features Zakk Wylde. Patient Number 9, the title track with Jeff Beck, that's a pretty good song. Let's see here. One of Those Days featuring Eric Clapton. I think that was actually not too bad either. Mr. Darkness with Zakk Wylde. Degradation Rules featuring Tony Iommi. I think that's probably the best song on the album. And even Dead and Gone, I think that song's pretty cool. But the rest is sort of like average, okay songs really. Moving on to number 8, and this one I think is going to be a surprise for a lot of people, but maybe not at the same time, because it's one of them albums where you either like it or you don't. And yeah, for me, at number 8, I've got Bark at the Moon from 1983. And yeah, it's the first one to feature J.K. Lee on guitar, and also the last one to feature Bob Daisley until No Rest for the Wicked. And yeah, this one by far is my least favourite of his 80s era, by a long way. It's not even close. I just don't enjoy this album. You know, there's something about it. There's a lot of slow, dull. There's a lot of like ballady songs as well on here, like You're No Different and So Tired. I absolutely despise that song, So Tired. It's awful. I hate it. And then you've got a song like Slow Down that is not that great either. Also, vocally on this album, I actually don't like Ozzy's vocals on this album. Some of the vocal lines and vocal melodies, especially in the Centre of Eternity, oh, that gets on my nerves every time I listen to that song, Centre of Eternity. That vocal line in the chorus really just does my brain in. Hate it. But the only saving grace for this album is obviously the title track song, Bark at the Moon. Is just absolutely fantastic. One of the best Ozzy songs ever. And also Rock and Roll Rebel, I think that is a really good song as well. I really enjoy that song. And also, I think Waiting for Darkness is not that bad. And One Up, the B-side as well, that's alright. But yeah, Bark at the Moon, Rock and Roll Rebel, the big saving grace for this album, because the rest of it I really don't like. Now, that I'd say like those albums were like in the bottom tier if I was to do a tier list. The next two albums would be in like the mid tier of like really good, but they kind of go under the radar a little bit. So in number 7, I've got the 2001 album Down to Earth, and this one features Rob Trujillo on the bass, and the only album to feature him on the bass. And I thought this was a really enjoyable album when I heard it. First time I heard it was for the live stream, and I loved it. I thought, wow, this album's actually really good. You know, there's a couple of songs in there, you know, like the single Dreamer. I really didn't enjoy that song. I thought that was a bit pants. And also there's like a 1 minute long song that was just a bit pointless, really. And again, sometimes like his vocals are a bit, you know, vocal lines are not so great. Like on the last song, Can You Hear Them? That's really annoying. But lots of really good stuff as well. Like the first song, Gets Me Through, Facing Hell, No Easy Way Out. Really great songs there. Junkie's a pretty good song. Black Illusion as well. I really enjoy that song. And yeah, really enjoyable album. And I don't own it, but I'd like to own it, I think, because it's actually a really good album. A bit underrated, I think. Very groovy in times, and yeah, I think it's one of his better later albums for definite. And at number 6, I've got from 1988. This is another one that goes a little under the radar, especially for his 80s work as well. No Rest for the Wicked. First one features Zakk Wylde, and it also features Bob Daisley again. This is actually a really good album. I listened to this again for the prep for this video, and you know, the reason why I've got it at number 6 is probably because there isn't too much memorable songs on this album, but it's really enjoyable at the same time. It's similar to Patient Number 9, but obviously the music's a lot better than on that album. You know, there's some really great guitar solos on this album from Zakk Wylde. He really, you know, puts his stamper on Ozzy's sound, you know, being the new guitarist at that time. But yeah, the majority of the album, Miracle Man, Devil's Daughter, Crazy Baby, Tattooed Dancer, Demon Alcohol, they're all fantastic songs. It kind of goes a little downhill, especially I've got the special edition that's got some bonus tracks, but Hero and The Liar, them two songs at the end just kind of ruin it for me, to be honest. Them two tracks are, yeah, they're not that great, but apart from that, the rest of it is really good. Really underrated album, I think, in Ozzy's discography. Okay, so we're moving on to the top 5 now. And in 5th place, I've got the 2010 album, Scream. Now, this is another one that's probably going to be way too high for most people, but I don't know, this album I really enjoy. I think it's absolutely fantastic, from start to finish pretty much. You know, this is the only album to feature Gus G on guitar, and my god, he's absolutely brilliant on this album. The riffs, the solos, everything, it's just fantastic throughout. I'd definitely say that this album is his best of the later albums, because it's a lot more metal, it's a bit more, well, I wouldn't say it's too old school, it's kind of got a bit of that modern sound in there, but for me it doesn't really seem to suffer as bad as the other ones. I don't know why. Maybe it's because this is the first one I properly heard of his newer stuff, and I kind of just have that nostalgia for it being really awesome, but still I think this album's fantastic. I don't own it, but I'd love to own it because it's awesome. Yeah, and as I said, there isn't really that much wrong with it. You know, the first song, Let It Die, that is a really good song. And then Let Me Hear You Scream, really like that track as well. Soul Sucker, really heavy. It's got some real cool heavy riffs in it. Life Won't Wait, that's a ballad, but I really like that ballad. I really like the chord progression that Gus G uses in that song. Digging Me Down, that's got a real heavy riff in it, which I love. Got some really awesome grooves. Crucify, Fearless, I Want It More, really good songs. Time, that's a bit more of a slower song, but even that's really cool as well. I'd say the only song that is probably a bit meh is the last song, because it's just a 1 minute stupid thing, but apart from that, I really cannot fault this album, to be honest. It doesn't suffer as much as the other albums do, and yeah, I love it. I think it's awesome. So yeah, let's move on to what I have in number 4, and I have his supposedly probably should have been his last album from 1991, No More Tears, and yeah, this is the last album to feature Bob Daisley and Randy Castillo on the drums, and this is a really great solid album. There's again nothing much wrong with this album. There's some really great songs on it. Not too many bad songs, as I said. Really awesome vocals. This is probably the last album for Ozzy's really good vocals. Awesome guitar playing again from Zach. And yeah, from start to finish pretty much this album, Mr. Tinker Train, awesome. I Don't Want to Change the World. Mama, I'm Coming Home. I've kind of said about that song in the past. I don't like that song. I'm not a fan of it. If that wasn't on the album, it'd be a lot better. Desire, the title track, really good. Sin, awesome. Hellraiser, that song with Motorhead, that is really cool. Time After Time, again, that's another ballady thing. That's kind of meh. Zombie Stomp, that's a pretty cool song. AVH as well, I like that song. And last song, Road to Nowhere, again another ballad, but pretty decent ballad. Yeah, can't really say much more about it. It's just fantastic, brilliant album, and it would have been a perfect way to end his career had he have ended his career with that album. So here we go, top 3. Third place on the podium, The Ultimate Sin from '86, and yeah, this is the last album to feature Jakey Lee on the guitar, and first album with Randy Castillo, and only album with Phil Soussan on the bass. And yeah, I think this is a very underrated and overlooked album. Some people will probably think, why has he got that so high? I think it's brilliant. I think it's fantastic from start to finish. Again, brilliant album. You know, all the way through, there's some really solid songs. So you got the title track, Secret Loser, I think that's a pretty cool song. Never Know Why, that's decent. Thank God for the Bomb, that's alright. Never, I love that song. Lightning Strikes as well, that is a really cool song. Killer of Giants, that's the one a lot of people know. Sort of a ballady song, but still a fantastic song. And then you've got Fool Like You as well, it's a nice song. And then Shot in the Dark, the pretty famous single from this album. But yeah, awesome guitar playing from Jakey Lee, awesome riffing throughout, really good vocals. It's a bit different to his normal stuff, but I mean, this compared with Bark at the Moon, it's poles apart, and I really enjoy this for its like high energy, awesome riffing, and awesome tempos, and that's why I really like this album. So top 2 now, and I guess a lot of people expected these two to be the top 2. Which order? Well, number 2, I've got Diary of a Madman, the second album from '81, and the last album to feature the late Randy Rhoads on the guitar. And yeah, this is just almost faultless, this album. I don't think it's quite as good as number 1, but we'll get to that later. The guitar solos from Randy, he was a lot more controlled on this album compared with the first one, where he had a lot more to prove. But this album, he didn't feel like he had so much to prove, so he kind of, I wouldn't say he wrote bad solos, but he definitely wrote more mature guitar solos, and the songwriting is a lot more mature as well, which I really like about this album. It's quite dark and heavy. It's got a slightly different sound to the first one, and a bit more theatrical, a bit more classical in that way with Randy's playing. And yeah, I absolutely love this album. There's some wicked songs on here, like Over the Mountain, Flying High Again, Believer, that's a wicked song. Tonight, Sato, the title track, Die of a Madman, what an epic song that is. The only song that I'm not a massive fan of is Tonight. It's kind of a bit slow and ballady, but then towards the end of the song there's a really great guitar solo from Randy, which definitely makes the song go up a bit more. So yeah, that's my number 2, Die of a Madman, and that leaves number 1, had to be Blizzard of Oz. It's number 1 for a lot of people, and for good reason, because it's fantastic. The debut album, it's just such an iconic album, very influential, not only on myself, but also for a lot of guitar players and a lot of bands that come after this album in the 80s and the 90s. Some wicked guitar solos, awesome playing. Ozzy's vocals actually sound really good on this as well. It's fantastic, really. Even the not so good songs are still really awesome as well. It's got the classic songs on here. I Don't Know, Crazy Train, even Goodbye to Romance I do like. I kind of got a bit of inspiration for my song Faded Feelings from that. Suicide Solution, awesome. D.I.E, the instrumental. Revelation, Mother Earth, awesome. Yeah, and even like No Bone Movie, Steal Away the Night, still pretty cool songs in themselves. Not as good as the ones I just mentioned, but still, it's just an awesome album. The best Ozzy album by a mile for me. And yeah, metal would be a lot different without that album for sure. So that was my Ozzy Osbourne album ranking. I'd love to know what you thought of my list, and what would be your list. I'd love to know in the comments what your list is so we can compare. Yeah, we've got plenty more content on the way for you guys. And yeah, if you got this far, thanks ever so much for watching, and until the next time, keep it metal.